Political Editor Andrew Clennell is right across this story and everything else, really. Andrew, good morning to you. So the irony here is that, those guys are probably not going to be needed, the crossbench, if the coalition supports it, will they?
Yeah, I think that's right. And this is really a very interesting development. This has to be exceptional circumstances for a public hearing. It's almost like the federal cabinet has realised that some of them could get caught in the crosshairs of this new body, the NACC, and they don't want politicians up on the stand too much publicly, it seems to me. And that has its own dangers, because to keep a corruption commission accountable, if it's all done in private, it can become a real star chamber. So it's a real balancing act here. But ultimately, I think Mark Dreyfus, the Attorney-General, is right when he says it'll be up to the Commissioner. The Commissioner will be able to call when it's exceptional circumstances. And if you think, if a federal cabinet minister's under a corruption cloud, well, surely that would qualify for exceptional circumstances. Yeah. I heard Stephen Jones on your show before. I think he's sort of misled you and your viewers a bit, Pete, when he says, we'll get thousands of complaints, you can't have more in public. That's not how it works. Investigators look at things, goes through an assessment process, and that's before any private or public hearing, and that's normal for an ICAC. So that's a bit misleading. There's always private hearings in ICACs. The difference here is he's saying only in exceptional circumstances they'll be public, whereas in, say, the New South Wales model, if they think there's enough evidence that it should be public, it is public. Now, this is being compared to the Victorian model. How many scalps has the Victorian model got? Not many. It's pretty ineffectual. It doesn't have teeth. But the problem with the New South Wales model, it's uncovered a lot of corruption. It's done some very good work, but it's got it right about 8 or 9 times out of 10. And it's the 1 or 2 times out of 10 that I imagine strike fears into the hearts of government and opposition MPs in terms of people being unfairly targeted. At the end of the day, it's easy for the crossbench and Greens to talk about what an ICAC should look like, Pete, because they'll never be in government. They'll never be subject to its investigations, you would think.
So that might help explain my next question, is why would Labor try and get the opposition on board rather than those members of the crossbench?
Well, I mean, the members of the crossbench wanted things like pork barrelling investigated. And that's not how I think we see corruption in Australia, or at least until recent years. Corruption is copying a bribe, or turning your blind eye to someone copying a bribe, or an article of personal enrichment. It shouldn't be about what people, I guess, could call political corruption, because that's just too much of a grey area. I mean, you might give a grant to a marginal seat, but what are you saying? They should give no grants at all to marginal seats? Yeah. It's just, that's a different level than me copying some money in the bank in order to give someone a contract or that nature of thing. So I think there does need to be that separation, and I think it was quite dangerous that the crossbench and Greens were putting pork barrelling in the mix.